Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. Eden, 42 wins in a row. 43, no pressure, but it is a prime number, I'm told. YC9N, 8N, 6K. Dude, I like a lot of this. We got problems, I mean, namely our damage stat. But if you ignore the problems with that, look at this rate of fire. Look at this HP. Look at the starting items. Perhaps most importantly of all, look at our starting card. Rarely do I ever get to take advantage of a self-sacrifice room. Especially rarely do I get to take advantage of a self-sacrifice room on the first friggin' floor. Why do I even in my brain, I was like, don't step on it. You're not gonna get anything. And then I went, oh, dude, a button. Oh! Never mind. It was actually extremely worth it. I swear, that's like a 1 in 250 sort of payout right there. That's amazing. Sack of sacks, more or less from a button. It did cost us a bomb, but not a big deal. Yeah, everything's hunky-dory. I finished the last episode by insulting tens of thousands of fellow YouTubers. I didn't mean... So I don't think I actually insulted anybody. I just like... I guess what I was trying to get at is I understand, you know, when we're all drilling from a limited well. You know what I mean? What I said was, you know, if you're one of those channels that, you know, you live in Japan and your whole channel's about life in Japan as a, you know, an expat, don't you eventually just run out of stuff to talk about after like a year and a half? Like, how many times can you be like, this is me eating sushi, this is me eating natto, you know, this is me at a temple. But how many freaking times can you play the same roguelite from 2014? The answer is like thousands, apparently. Anyway, I'm just saying. I have sympathy for that as somebody who's in the same boat, I suppose. It's a weird industry from time to time. But I am looking forward, you know, Kate and I are going to Japan as we do from time to time. That's a really good roll there. I didn't go last year, but I did go to Korea. Not the same thing, but, you know, kind of a similar sentiment is like, get far away. I'm looking forward to it. I can feel myself getting the rest and relaxation vibes. You know, it's good to go away every once in a while, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm preaching to the converted, obviously, I'm sure. But, you know, when anybody else grow up in a situation, my parents were not well off, let me be clear. But they worked a lot. So every vacation I took as a child, and I think this is a very common North American experience. Every vacation I took as a child was like within a 3-hour drive of our place of residence. We would like, okay, we're going to go to Ottawa for 4 days. We're going to go to Toronto for 3 days. We're going to go to Montreal for 3 days. Now, dude, to be honest, pretty lucky to live in a place where, you know, 3 different relatively major cities were all within driving distance, but simultaneously, you know, not that exotic. I wouldn't describe myself as being a worldly adolescent. You know, occasionally you'd go to the United States of America, but you'd never like get on an airplane and go to like a major US city. You'd get on like a bus and go to Syracuse, which is a city in upstate New York. There's nothing, not insulting Syracuse, okay? I'm just saying. And to this day, I have been unsuccessful in getting my parents to travel overseas. But every year, and to be fair, they're both still working. But every year they're like, hey, keep your schedule cleared. Because next year, we're talking about going to like Scotland. We're talking about going to Ireland. You know, hey, we heard you went to Iceland. Me and your mother were thinking about going to Iceland. never materializes. It's not a sad story. I think they will do it one day. They just haven't had the chance up to this point. Perhaps. We gotta trick them. You ever see that prank? I forget who did it. One of the fake pranksters, Chris Angel maybe? Put somebody to sleep via hypnosis and then put them on an airplane and like woke them up when they landed in Calcutta, India. That's a good one. Probably don't pull that one on anybody you want to talk to ever again. There's nothing wrong with Calcutta, I'm just saying, you know, you might have obligations. You'd like to know where you're going before you go there, I suppose. Anyway. Something different. I say this, you know, it's coming from a place of privilege without a doubt. There's something, just a symbolic difference between, you know, taking time off that you drive to and taking time off that you fly to. Because when you fly, that's like you time. As much as people complain about, you know, legroom, meals, etc., etc., it is pretty luxurious. You're just sitting in a chair and being taken to someplace else on the planet. You don't have to worry about paying attention. You don't have to worry about gas. You don't have to worry about, hey, what's that knucklehead doing in the HOV lane? He doesn't have anybody else in his car. Hey, knucklehead, aren't you worried about getting fined? The only thing you have to worry about is like a, you know, catastrophic industrial failure leading to a situation from whence there is definitely no return. But the odds of that happening are very, I mean, infinitesimal. Very, very low. I mean, there hasn't been, and this is meant to be comforting. This is how I got over my own fear of flying. A combination of morbidly looking at statistics plus exposure therapy. There hasn't been a major North American lethal air disaster since like the year 2010. Now that's not that long ago, but it's long enough when you consider, you know, there's been like 45 train derailments since then. God knows how many bus accidents, obviously hundreds of thousands of car accidents. You know, the airplane is relatively safe. I hope, inevitably, just by the, you know, the law of middling numbers, there's probably going to be somebody watching this that's like, I've got a flight tomorrow. I'm a little bit anxious. I'll watch my favorite YouTuber. Oh, they haven't uploaded a video. Okay, well, I guess I'll watch somebody play Isaac. And this is probably not helping them. But it should, I think, even though that's not how fear works necessarily. You know, the thing is, like, you know, if you die or you get in a car accident, it's like you don't see it coming and then psh, it's kind of like over, right? Dying in like an airplane accident is, your brain makes it seem like super horrific, you know, like, oh, the fuselage snaps in half halfway over the Atlantic Ocean, you tumble out, and then while conscious you fall like, you know, 25,000 feet down to the hard ocean surface below. Sure, that, I mean, I get it. I'm the dude who gets scared on roller coasters. I don't get scared on roller coasters, I guess, because I believe that they're gonna break. You know, I trust them to be well engineered. Although one girl did get her foot cut off. But I always, you know, it might not sound accurate, but I think it is. A large corporate theme park, you're probably not going to get your foot chopped off. If you go to Jacob's Traveling Fair, you're probably also not going to get your foot cut off, but your odds are probably higher, to be honest. Like, there was this, like, winter fair that came to Vancouver, and they had a Ferris wheel. I was cognizant of the fact, like, oh, let me build the perfect moment for you here. There's a Ferris wheel at Disney California Adventure. It's run by, you know, one of the largest corporations on Earth. One of the most, you know, brand-friendly corporations on Earth. They care a lot about PR, right? The Ferris wheel is scary. And I know that that's going to sound ridiculous. But it's a Ferris wheel that also, like, it puts you like a pendulum. if that makes sense. So, like, you go up, and then they stop you, and then you slide down the spoke towards the center of the Ferris wheel, and you get, like, you know, like a 30-degree rotation around the axis. So it's a little, like, for Ferris wheels, it's not like a thrill-seeking endeavor, but it's a little bit more intense than your average Ferris wheel. I felt fear on that Ferris wheel, even though it had a big, smiling cartoon mouse on the side of it. The one that was in Vancouver, just a dinky little Ferris wheel, didn't feel fear on it at all. And this is why the human brain is stupid. The odds of you getting injured on anything Disney has ever created have got to be near zero. The other thing is, if you did get injured on it, nobody would ever hear about it. They would cover it up. You would just be like, you know, people would be like, whatever happened to Susan? Susan? Who's Susan? Susan. You know, like, we came here with, you know, my aunt, she was, can't say we've ever heard of her. It's a small world after all, it's a small world after all. Please give me, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. Check this out. Genius level plays. The odds of me being hurt on that roller coaster versus the odds of me being hurt on the roller coaster established by a traveling carnival in Vancouver, I know which money I would bet on. Let me put it this way. The Ferris wheel in Vancouver, it didn't even cost a token to get on. By which I mean, it did cost a token to get on, but nobody was there to check the tokens. I was like, if nobody's here to check the tokens, who's checking to make sure all the bolts have been fixed properly after the thing's created? Anyway, maybe all I'm saying is that you shouldn't be nervous to fly for a major airline. The odds of a major airline plane going down is very low in North America and probably Western Europe as well. Look, I'm just saying from an aviation statistics standpoint. Now, if you're flying with a regional airline, buckle up. That's the price I've paid for my airline fear. If I'm flying Air Canada, United, Delta, American Airlines, Alaskan Airlines, Southwest, JetBlue, Virgin Airlines, does not matter. I'm like, you know what? Totally safe. If I'm flying like Georgian Airlines, that's Air Georgia, not from the state of Georgia or the country of Georgia, but from Georgian Bay, Ontario, I'm like, you know what? Okay, Kate, buckle up, all right? Let me sit in the aisle. I'll make sure you get out if this thing doesn't even start up. 99% of my flights, I'm like, no problem. 1% of my flights, I'm like, let's get ready. You're taking a little puddle jumper. Anyway, enjoy your flight tomorrow. I mean, I'm flying soon. Get over it. You know, I've been listening to all these books about Stoicism. There's a routine and recurring theme in the books about Stoicism. Many, actually. And I don't know how much I actually prescribe to the Stoic philosophy, but a lot of it is interesting to me as somebody who complains a lot. But one of the things that is, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca the Younger, Epictetus, they're always saying, like, nothing can harm you as much as the situations you create in your head can harm you. Now, they were born and lived their whole lives before aviation existed. I'm sure if you were like, hey, Seneca, what about, can you imagine being, 10 times higher in the sky than a bird and then falling to your death? He'd probably be like, bro, that's pretty messed up. But, I still think, like, the sentiment holds. The odds of you being in a plane incident are pretty low. The odds of you being killed in a plane crash are unbelievably small. But how much are you torturing yourself over the belief that this is gonna happen? You know what I mean? And you don't have to apply that. And nobody's perfect. I do the same thing to myself all the time. But it helps to conceptualize it, I think. You're your own worst enemy when it comes to things that you're anxious about. It's not so simple as just being like, hey, turn down the anxiety. But just hearing the quote about it, it helps to, hey, dude, if Marcus Aurelius dealt with this, then I can do it. Because he was a big dummy. He didn't even know 43 was a prime number. What's a prime? He probably knew what prime numbers were. He seems like a pretty smart dude. Anyway, well, if he was so smart, why didn't he stop Commodus from giving the thumbs down in Gladiator and almost getting Maximus Doritius killed? Whatever his name is. I don't know. Russell Crowe. So, this run, don't get me wrong, it's been pretty good. We do have one considerable problem, and it's our damage stat. 2.73 damage is truly horrendous. Which sounds horrendous. That sounds like he could be a Roman emperor. Right after Nero. You'd be like, yeah, Nero was bad, but at least he wasn't horrendous. Anyway, you get the joke doesn't even make sense. It's literally, it's not even wordplay. It's just word. We really would like to see, from our deal with the devil, a damage increase. If it has to be, you know, lump of coal, it has to be lump of coal. Life goes on. But just anything to improve our DPS, I'll accept it. We'll still almost certainly win either way, but we'd like, you know, we'd like to win in style if possible. I mean, I'm not trying to sound ungrateful. It's just more fun in Isaac when, like, you click on an enemy or you use the arrow keys to shoot an enemy and they die in like 2 hits instead of 6 hits. I don't know. It's the human brain, you know? It's a flawed thing. But why shoot many times when few times do trick? It is actually amazing to me that The Office is like over a decade old and is still like an enduring source of pop culture relevancy. I watched season 1, 2, and 3 of The Office, you know, when they aired. I kind of fell out of them after that. Not because the show was bad, but because I was in college and I didn't have cable television. You know, that's kind of like, you know, not too many college students, I think, have access to cable television. That's why, you know, why would I pay for cable when that could buy me 43 beers a month? You know, is pretty much where my philosophy stood there. So a lot of the memes I'm not totally familiar with, but that's got to be like a great feeling. If you worked on that show, people are still like, if you search for anything in the meme or the GIF keyboard on Twitter, you're like, the top 10 results are always like a K-pop band, which, you know, no matter what you search for, there's always going to be like a BTS GIF in there somewhere. And then usually like a Spanish telenovela that I'm unfamiliar with, 4 GIFs from The Office, and then like a lot of GIFs from like reality shows like Keeping Up with the Kardashians for whatever reason. But that's like the classic right there. I believe you me, K-pop fans. I apologize. Mian Hamnida, okay? I'm not trying to rile up the kid. There's a lot of groups on Twitter I'll mess with. I'm not going Oppa with the K-pop stans. They'll tear your throat out. How dare you suggest that Junhyun is not the best boy? Look at my soft little angel, etc., etc. You do you, okay? I stay in my video game, Game of Thrones cynical corner. You stay in your K-pop stan corner. We have an uneasy truce. Careful, Ned! You get the idea. It's a group I won't mess with on Twitter. They've done a good job of making themselves imposing. Although I do still love the story. I love it too much because I tell it too much, or vice versa. But when we were in Korea and there was a thunderstorm, and so many tweets were like, please, has anybody heard from G-Dragon? Is G-Dragon safe? I thought, it's rain. Why doesn't anybody ask me if I'm safe? I mean, I am, of course. I'm inside. I brought an umbrella because I always, you know, try to check the weather and dress appropriately, but also because it's rain. It can't hurt you. Pheromones. Cricket's body. I mean, it is a DPS improvement, but... And straight up, We could win with 2.73 damage. I would just prefer not to. I mean, I wouldn't prefer to lose. I just mean I'd prefer to have a little bit more working for me. But mostly because we're almost at like soy milk levels of rate of fire. No. I don't think we need that. I think we got to go for a little bit more bombasticness. That's helpful. Well, we don't really care about boss rush. Let's go get our final item room. We could possibly still make boss rush anyway. But yeah, you know, like, there's other shows that aired around that time. Like, The Office started, like, 2 years after Friends ended. And Friends, I think people are like, it's okay. Like, when it was on Netflix, people, like, they sort of started getting back into the Friends thing. But the thing, Friends is like, I think it is hip to hate on it. And it was insanely popular. Like, that's a show from my adolescent years that, you know, teenage years, for the finale at least, that, like, people were very, very into. It was like a cultural phenomenon. But it is a sign of the times, or it's a product of its own time, and it's just digestible, right? It's not actually that clever of a show. No. We've been rolling D100s when we get them, but not in this case. Let's try this. This will be weird. Love it. But then you look at a show like Seinfeld. Not everybody loves Seinfeld, but Seinfeld is like a decade earlier than Friends. And yet, simultaneously, I would say still has more cultural relevancy to this day, despite both. I mean, arguably, Friends might have been more popular than Seinfeld. I don't know. They were close. I wasn't alive when Seinfeld was at the peak. I wasn't cognizant of it when Seinfeld was at the peak of its popularity. The finale aired when I was like 7 or something. Maybe 10, but anyway. Similarly, I was like, The Office. When The Office started, it was like a niche show. I mean, it was on NBC, so how niche could it be? But it wasn't like the mega show. But I guess it resonated particularly with like my age demographic, because we're the big memers on Twitter. Well, at least we're not making OC memes. We're using our own, we're using the GIF keyboard. The other thing, no matter what you search for on the GIF keyboard, and yes, I continue to say it in differing ways just to annoy people. I want to make sure I annoy all parts of the audience here. The other thing you see is supernatural GIFs. I've never seen the show, but I feel like I've watched like 3.5 seasons just from looking for other GIFs. I know there's the one dude, he's got the long hair, and then there's the one dude, he's got like the shorter hair, and then the dude with the, they look at each other and they do the mouth open thing, like, wah. I know what you... It's like Bill and Ted's Supernatural Adventure or something, right? I've never seen it. I gotta get into a new show though, dude, because like, I mean, I've almost finished these 2 Ken Burns documentaries about the Civil War and Prohibition. They're great, amazing television. Highly recommended if you got Netflix. Ken Burns Prohibition, Ken Burns the Civil War, Ken Burns Vietnam, all great programs if you're into that sort of thing. You know, I am watching Game of Thrones, but that's like 60 minutes a week, roughly. I guess like 80 minutes a week now. But like, you know, a lot of that I'm like rolling my eyes at now. Not to be rude to the show necessarily. You can still like it. It's all good. And then that's it. Like, that's the NHL playoffs on occasion, but really only when games go to like quintuple overtime. Please. Is this the hardest room that's ever existed in this game? I feel like we just walked into a gungeon room designed to kill us. I hear Barry's very good, but... I only watch... Oh my god, dude. I only watch shows if I've never watched another show with that letter of the alphabet having been its first letter. And I'm sorry for Barry, but Breaking Bad, it's a great show. As a result, Barry, I mean, no, it's obviously I'm being facetious, but you know, how weird would that be? We're very lucky that we had a lot of HP, because, like, no joke, that room took 4 demon hearts off of us. That's absurd. If only the shots started on the other side of the room, it wouldn't be so bad. But, like, if things had gone slightly differently, that room could have been the death of us, without a doubt. I guess I don't necessarily need another show. Could always just get like a hobby, but that's ridiculous. I don't know. People are, and you might be in this group, so don't take offense to this, unless it offends you, in which case don't let me tell you what to do. People are very offensive to TV. Dismissive, you know? Whenever you talk about, you know, when I was like, you know, 19, me and my friends would talk about like how cool we were. We'd always be like, yeah, dang, 40-year-olds come home from work, plop down, watch 6 hours of TV a night. And we would, like, feel smug. What were we doing? Basically, like, a lot of underage drinking, to be honest with you. But, like, I mean, that takes up a lot of time. We, you know, TV gets a bad rap, I think, because it's, like, passive entertainment. But if you play like 40 hours of video games a week, you're like, Mom, get off my case, okay? There was one study in 1973 that said playing Pong slightly improved your hand-eye coordination, so basically I'm bettering myself. You know, I think like, whatever entertainment-wise you choose to do, I don't really have a leg to stand on when it comes to criticizing it. Because, you know, first off, I watch a lot of trashy television, and I love it. Well, not a lot. When I say I watch a lot of TV, I'm talking like literally like an hour a week. But in 6-minute bursts while I fold loads of laundry. I get you know, I'm getting blood from a stone when it comes to anecdotes. You might think this guy is fishing for anecdotes on True Hollywood Entertainment all weekend. Wrong. I watch a commercial for the Property Brothers. That's 15 minutes right there. Do you know the Property Brothers are Canadian? It's true. I didn't want to believe it either, like Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back, but it is honest to goodness the truth. Anyway. But the thing is, first off, I don't necessarily hold my own leisure time to high standards. Like, I mean, I like good things. I like art. I mean, like, I don't like paintings. Like, I don't know how to appreciate them. I'm not 100 years old. But I like movies that are artistic, you know? I got nothing wrong with an ending that, you know, doesn't explain itself fully. I watch a lot of Marvel movies. I also watch a lot of, you know, Criterion Collection stuff. I can get down with the gamut there, assuming that's the gamut. Who's the gamut? Is that Paul Rudd's new hero? But also, I run a show basically designed to be played in a monitor mindlessly while you're doing other things. So... woe be it for me to be like, you should take your personal time more seriously and, you know, go for a higher standard of entertainment. Dude, as far as I'm concerned, entertainment is like, it depends on where you're at in your life and what you want out of it. What I want out of it is like comfort, for the most part. I don't mind watching a movie that challenges me, but not every, you know, waking hour of entertainment needs to challenge me, because, you know, I got challenges in my own life. I'm not saying I have, like, a hard life, but, you know, every day there's things that are, you know, I would rather not do, but you gotta do them. Whereas when I was a teenager, I was just kind of like, you know, I go to school, and then when I come home, I'm like, let's watch Holy Mountain. School wasn't intellectually stimulating enough. And then afterwards, back in the day, you couldn't, when an ending was freaky, you couldn't just Google, you know, Hereditary, ending explained. Mind you, I did the exact same thing with Akira this weekend, but... And I appreciate it, as much as, like, perhaps being spoon-fed an artist's vision is kind of like... might seem like a downer conceptually. I find it helps me appreciate the experience more. You know, I miss out on a lot of small details sometimes when I watch things. Like, So sometimes when you read like an ending explained, it's not like, haha, dummy. Rosebud was his sled. It's like, there were motifs and themes throughout the movie that, play into the same thing. It's really like an extended metaphor for like, the resurrection of Jesus Christ filtered through cyberpunk Neo Tokyo or something like that. You know what I mean? I appreciate that. We're kind of spoiled for choice when it comes to media now. I say that as a member of the media, but also trying to appear unbiased. Like, do you know, the fact that there are a lot of podcasts is hilarious. I mean, like, how many podcasts can the industry support? But also, simultaneously, you know what I wouldn't have given to have, like, more than 4 podcasts exist when I was 14, 15, 16 years old? That would have been amazing. And there's a lot of podcasts from people that don't know what they're talking about but want to have a podcast. And that's fine. It's entertainment. But there's also a lot of podcasts that are like, oh, you want to get into Formula One? Here's a podcast with an ex-Formula One driver. This guy used to be the chief engineer at Mercedes. And by the way, amazing items down here. But, this guy's been watching F1 for 40 years of his life. And then, this guy's just funny. His dad owns the radio station. It's incredible, There's podcasts about, like, medical issues, hosted by doctors. What do you talk about? And this is not a negative thing. I know we're finishing on a similar note than last time. But there's so many podcasts out there. I've been browsing fitness subreddits. It's just mindless, for me at least. Not because I know everything, but because everybody gives the same advice everywhere, Track your calories, do one of the programs on the sidebar. And no, you can't get, an 8-pack in 4 days. You should have thought of that earlier. But there's like thousands, literally thousands of fitness podcasts out there. There's podcasts dedicated to specific weightlifting lifts. An hour a week just talking about squats. We're so spoiled. I mean, first I'll tell you, it's not my kind of podcast. I mean, it's not to say there's not more nuance to the squat than I'm giving credit for, but like simultaneously, an hour a week specifically about squat, like what kind of new breakthroughs are happening on a weekly basis in squat technology. Hey, how were your squats this way? Maybe it's like every podcast. It just becomes inside jokes, and then after a while, you needed to fall asleep. I understand. I haven't been there. I live there presently. I built a house on there. It's amazing. When I was a teenager, you wanted information on something, there's only one choice for you. Thatthing.com and Wikipedia. You want to more know? You want to more know? You want to know more about weightlifting? Weightlifting.com. That's your best bet. Food.com. You want a recipe? Food.com, obviously, or recipes.com. Stocks.com. Now it's like, well, you got a lot of choices. You got, Squat Life, Squat Alley, Squatters' Rights, Squat Party. It's like, I'm not even like, how many of these can the industry support? I'm really just like, this is incredible. The internet has become a great democratizing force when it comes to media. And yet you're here with me. That's very flattering. I appreciate it. I would have killed for these kind of podcasts when I was younger. Back when I was 16, there were like 4 people on the internet that knew how to use a microphone that plugged into their computer. You needed like 8 degrees in audio engineering. People still figured it out. Not to maybe you run a radio show on friggin' Ventrilo. You should give them a Nobel Prize. Put some respect on your ancestors' names. Nowadays, how do I do this? You just Google it. Somebody's made a program that does it for you. All you gotta do is double click on the icon and it'll run. But where did it install, dude? Stupid broken program does everything for me, but I don't even... No, I know I could have put it in a different directory, but what directory does it go into by default? I shouldn't talk like... this is very much not a, you know, kids these days bit. It's a, things are much, much better now and nobody realizes it bit. Stolen from Louis C.K., but if you're gonna steal a bit from a comedian, you should steal it from one who's disgraced. Nobody's gonna be mad at you for that. Anyway, 43 wins in a row, dude. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See you.